Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Alex Falase-Koya, and I'm an author. It is a great honor for me to be beamed live into your classrooms all today to talk to you a little bit about myself and teach you a little bit of things about writing. Let's go. So, firstly, I wanted to show you my home. I live in London. It's where I've lived my entire life. A nice little city. And I also wanted to show you my cats. As you can see, there are two of them. I really love this picture of them because they're cuddling so closely together. It's like they're basically one cat instead of being two separate cats. Their names are Akira and Simone, two little tabbies. I love them. Yeah, I live with them. And I also wanted to show you my library. This is my library. I know it's a really big building, isn't it? It looks kind of like a castle. And I used to go there all the time when I was growing up because I really loved books and I really loved reading. And here are some of the books that I loved reading, both when I was growing up and right now. So we have Amari and the Night Brothers, of which I have a real life copy of it here. I also really liked reading The Spook's Apprentice, which is a really cool book series. And I also liked reading Asterix and Obelisk. Hope some of you have read one of those yourself. But I didn't just love books. I also really liked TV shows. As you can see here, there are all sorts of children's TV shows that I liked watching when I was growing up. We have some Powerpuff Girls, some Scooby-Doo, even Courage the Cowardly Dog, who is amazing. So yeah, these are loads of things which I really liked and really inspired me when it comes to storytelling and telling stories. So, what made me an author? How did I end up on this path? Why did I end up doing this? Well, I think the first thing I want to say is that I loved reading, but not just reading, I loved stories of all kinds. And because I loved stories so much, I ended up thinking to myself, oh, maybe it would be cool if I write myself a story. That could be really fun. And I started writing when I was a teenager. So if you right now love coming up with your own stories, or doing that could be writing it down, or could be making little comic strips with stories. If you like doing that, then you're ahead of where I was when I was your age, because I only started writing when I was a teenager. Then I spent years writing books to get good at it, because the first time you do anything, you're never really that good at it, are you? It always takes work to get good at things. And then eventually, all of that made me an author. So now I've had a little time to talk to you a little bit about myself. I thought that we could, have some fun as you learn about me. So I thought I could give you some poll questions that you could try and answer. Here is our first question. What is Alex's favorite hot drink? What's my favorite hot drink? We have A, tea. It could be B, hot chocolate. Or it could be C, coffee. Let's have your poll votes in. What is my favorite hot drink? Can you guess? Can you guess? I hope those votes are coming in. I can't wait to see what you are all going to guess. It seems like most of you have guessed hot chocolate, which happens to be actually the correct answer. You all got it right. A lot of you got it right. The most of you got it right. Hot chocolate is my favorite hot drink. Yeah, good work guessing. Good work on the poll. We'll come back to with another question soon, and let's see if you guys can get it mostly correct again. So more about me is that I also loved superheroes when I was growing up. Here are loads of pictures of me dressed up in various superhero suits. Have a Spider-Man there, a Batman, another Spider-Man, and you'll notice in the one of them, I'm eating breakfast while dressed up like Spider-Man. That's how committed I was to being a superhero. And my love of superheroes and my love of books, they really came together in my first book series, Marv. And here is, I have over here, I have a physical version of it. So here, I used to love, Marv is a story about a little boy called Marvin who discovers a supersuit in his granddad's attic, and the supersuit is powered by kindness and imagination, and whenever he puts it on, it gives him whatever superpowers he needs to save the day. And there you can also see in this picture, I have a cat on my shoulder, as I do. And here are some more Marv books, because we have around 7 out right now. And in May, we're going to have an 8th come out, which is going to be really fun. We also had last year a special World Book Day edition of Marv, which was really, really fun. It's really, really fun to get involved with World Book Day. But that is not the only series I work on. I also work on this series, The Breakfast Club Adventures. So I worked on this series with Marcus Rashford, and here I have as well, as a little prop, I got my physical copy over here, which you can see. Ooh, ah. And this story is about a boy called Marvin, it's a boy called Marcus, wrong name, boy called Marcus, who ends up joining a group called the Breakfast Club Investigators, who end up looking into all sorts of weird goings on into their school, which may or may not be supernatural in nature. So yeah, that's what that series is about. And here's a picture of 2 of them, as you can see on the screen. So, I've told you a bit about me, you've learned some stuff about me, so I thought, given that I'm getting the chance to talk to you, I thought I might as well give you my top creative tips. I know that it can be hard for people to create things, that could be drawing things, that could be writing things, so I thought, let me give you my top tips. Maybe that'll be helpful. One of my top tips is called a small bite, as you can see from this picture over here. So when I'm coming up with ideas, instead of me thinking, I have to come up with something amazing completely from scratch, something that I like to try and do is ask myself, can I take a small bite of something that I've read or watched or heard of before and put that into my own work? Because if I can put that into my own work, maybe that can give me the little starter of an idea. So for example, if I watched something very recently that had giant robots in it, maybe I'll think to myself, maybe I should put giant robots into my book that I'm working on. Maybe that could be cool. So a small bite. Next, we have this. Put yourself in the story. If you're having trouble coming up with a story idea or a drawing idea or anything you're working on, I like to ask myself, maybe I need to put myself in the story. What do I think is cool? If you are a person who thinks it would be really cool if you went to space, then maybe you should tell a story about a kid who's going up into space. Asking yourself what you think is cool and would be really cool if it happened to you can be really helpful when it comes to coming up with ideas for stories. And finally, maybe this is the most important creative tip, is it's okay to be bad. Now, I know that some of you maybe might have a little voice in your head when you're working on something and it's not quite going the way you want. That little voice in your head can tell you to throw what you're working on away, to stop working on things. I'm here to tell you that you can tell that voice to be quiet. You don't have to listen to it. Whenever you're working on anything, like I said, it takes ages to get really good at things. So, for example, even books like this that I ended up writing, the book that you will end up reading is not my first go at writing this. When it comes to books, I spend ages working on things by myself, tweaking things, trying to make things as best as I can. Things take time to become good. And oftentimes, the first time I write something, it will be kind of a little bit bad. So it's okay to be bad. Cool. What do we have next? Yes, here it is. My big example, just to show you that I use this in my daily life, these creative tips. The Breakfast Club Adventures is me taking a small bite of Scooby-Doo. When I was trying to come up with this story and working with Marcus Rashford to come up with a story, I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be cool to have a mystery story where you didn't quite know if the monster was real or not real? That could be cool. That's basically what Scooby-Doo is. And I took a little piece of that, I put that into the Breakfast Club Adventures, and I think that's what made that book as good as it is. So yeah, a small bite. Now we have our second poll question. Another chance to learn something about me. Here is the question. What was Alex once very scared of? So what was I once very scared of? Is it A, pigeons? Is it B, cats? Or is it C, spiders? What was I once really scared of? I'm going to let you all vote in the poll. Let's see if you can figure out what I was once really scared of. Let me take a sip of water as I wait. I'm really interested to see if you are all going to get it. What was I once really scared of? It seems like most of you voted for C, spiders. That spiders was once the thing that I was once really scared of. Turns out that's not true. The thing that I was once really scared of is pigeons. I know pigeons sounds a little bit silly when I say it like this. But once when I was really young, I had a hand filled with pigeon seed, and I think I was in Trafalgar Square or something, and I dropped the seed all on the ground, and then all of the pigeons swarmed around me. They were just coming to eat their food, but I was really scared. So because of that, I got really scared of pigeons for a while. Yeah, I'm okay with spiders, and I love cats. But yeah, good going on that question. Those of you who got it right, let's see if you manage to get the final one when that comes up. So now, before then, let me talk to you about my secret weapon when it comes to storytelling. This is how I make my stories really interesting. This is how I make everyone turn the page, keep turning their pages. It's called character conflicts. I'm going to teach you all about it. So characters, we kind of know what characters are. They're people in stories. They're the people who are in the stories. What's conflict? So conflict is when things are clashing, when there's two things against each other. And when I talk about it, I'd like to talk about it like this. This character wants this, but something's in their way. Let me try and give you an example so that makes more sense. Imagine the story of a dragon versus a knight, okay? And imagine I have sent this knight far and wide to defeat this dragon. And then when this knight discovers this dragon looks like this. As you can see, this is a really small, this dragon's probably like this big. It's quite cute. It doesn't really have big wings. It has a really small mouth that doesn't really have any sharp teeth in it. So the problem this knight is facing, this dragon, is quite small, right? It's not going to cause much trouble for this knight. This dragon isn't going to cause a lot of trouble. But imagine if instead, when our knight found the dragon looked like this. This dragon is huge. It's almost like as big as multiple buildings stacked up on top of each other. It has loads of spikes coming out of its back. It has loads of sharp teeth. They can breathe fire. Oh, this is a very, very, very scary dragon, right? So this dragon is going to cause a lot of trouble for our knight. And it's going to be a lot more trouble for our knight to defeat. And I think that is going to make for a more interesting story. Because, as this meme suggests, us authors, us creators, our goal is to put loads of problems for our characters into stories, right? Because if we put problems in front of our characters have things to overcome. That makes the stories interesting. They have to try really hard to do something. I always say it like this. Imagine if I'm making you a soup, right? And in this soup, I don't put any seasoning, any salt, anything in the soup. How do you think the soup would taste? I'm guessing you think the soup would taste bland, boring, kind of like water, right? It wouldn't taste very good. That's the same with conflict, things against each other in stories. When we put these problems into our stories become more interesting because our characters have to work really hard to do things. So, but character conflicts, they can be split into a couple of different sections. So let's talk about them. One is outer conflict, as you can see with the two lightsabers clashing. So what is outer conflict? Outer conflict is conflict which is outside of our main character's head. It could be with the world around around the character, or with the people around the main character. And these tend to be more physical, about doing things. For example, let's go back to our knight and our dragon. Our knight wants to defeat this dragon, this ferocious, fearsome dragon, but when our knight comes to this dragon's lair is filled with traps, filled with spike pits and whatnot, traps. This is a problem for our knight. This makes our story more interesting. So now what we're going to do is I am going to give you the character of Sammy the chef. Sammy the chef, as you can see, he's flipping around some veggies and other things in his little pan. And I'm going to ask you to try and see if you can think up or write down any character conflicts for Sammy the chef. And we always think of it, like I said, like this. The character, Sammy the chef, wants something, but something's in his way. I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to come up with things. Try things out or talk things through. Let me think of ideas that I would have for Sammy the chef. Maybe the Sammy the chef could want to be he could want his restaurant to be the most successful restaurant in the whole town. But there's another restaurant right across the street, which is bigger than his and has more chefs than his and has way more customers than his. That's one that could be it. You could also say this. Maybe Sammy the chef wants to cook a meal for a customer, but there are loads of mice in his restaurant which are eating all of his ingredients, so he can't make the ingredients into food and serve them to the customer. Those are things that are making our Sammy the chef story more interesting. So see if you can come up with any of those things. I'm going to take a sip of water while I let you think and write things down. Cool. Let's move on. I'm going to move on, but if you do want to work on this later, hey, you can do that. Inner conflict, as represented by this brain. So inner conflict, that's the other type of conflict that happens. So this is about stuff that's inside the main character's head. We talked about all the stuff outside the main character's head. What about stuff inside the character's head? So think about how a character could feel about something or what they may think about something. That's how I try and look at inner conflict in a character. And let's think again of an example. And our example is going to be, we'll go back to our knight and our dragon. Imagine, if you will, our brave knight has decided that they want to take on this dragon. And so they travel far and wide to get to the dragon's lair. And when they get to the dragon's lair, they stick their head into the lair, they look inside, and then they pull their head out because they realize something. This knight realizes they're scared. They want to take on this dragon. They want to defeat this dragon, but they're scared of the dragon. The dragon is big. It's huge. It can breathe fire. So yeah, it's about how the character feels that's causing the problem. So let's give you Sammy the chef again. The Sammy the chef, as you can see, he's feeling things now. He is feeling things. So let's see if, I'm going to give you again 30 seconds to see if you can come up with things that Sammy the chef might want and what might be in Sammy the chef's way. But again, we're thinking of internal conflict. So this is all stuff that's inside Sammy the chef's head. and that could be how Sammy the chef is feeling or what he's thinking about something. Let's say Sammy the chef has a best friend who's also a chef, and he wants his friend to succeed at being a chef, but Sammy the chef feels jealous. He wants his friend to be good. He wants his friend to do well, but he feels jealous. That's an example. Another example of what could be causing Sammy the chef some problems, an inner conflict with Sammy the chef could be Sammy the chef. He wants to cook some nice food for all of the people who have come to his restaurant, but he's scared. He thinks to himself, "Oh, but what if I don't cook the food as well as I can? And what if they end up not liking the food and end up not liking me?" He ends up feeling all of those feelings. So what other feelings can you think of that might be stopping Sammy the chef from doing what Sammy the chef wants to do? You can write it down or talk about it in your class. Go for it. I'm going to have another sip of water before we continue. Cool. So let's move on. So, how do we build a character? When I am trying to make a character, I'm always asking myself, can I add an outer conflict and an inner conflict? And then if I put an outer conflict and an inner conflict into one character, if I can put both of those things in one character, normally that's a really good way to come up with a character that's going to be interesting, that's going to have loads of interesting problems to face during the course of the story. For example, here we have a little example. The Breakfast Club Adventures. In this book, Marcus, the book version, of course, not the actual footballer, his outer conflict is he wants to find his football, but it's disappeared over the wall. And his inner conflict is he wants his life to stay the same, but he's growing up. So, what I want you to do as our final little exercise in this presentation today is, can you think to yourself, are there any characters in TV shows or books that you have watched or read that you think you can come up with the inner conflict or outer conflict that they're facing and feeling? Have a go. Write that down, think about it, talk about it. Let's see what you come up with yourselves. Again, I'm going to have a sip of water. How to Train Your Dragon is a book a book series I really like, and something I love is our main character Hiccup dealing with who just he wants a lot of things, but a big outer conflict in the book series, and a big problem is the giant dragons who are trying to eat everyone. So that's a really good example, at least that I have and that I can think of off the top of my head. So hope you can think of something cool too. Now, what we are going to do is we're going to have our final poll question. Yes. All right. Let's see if you can figure out what Alex is secretly very good at. Okay, I have to say some nice things about myself every once in a while. Am I good at long distance running? Am I the type of person who can run a marathon? Am I a person who's really good at baking, cooking up little cookies and muffins? Or am I a person who's really good at building Lego kits? Have I built a Millennium Falcon before out of Lego? Let's see what you think. Let's give you some time to get your votes in. This is the final poll question, so let's see. I want to really see if most of you can get this one right. I'm really interested. Ooh, I really can't wait to see what you will vote. It seems like most of you have voted for Lego. That me, Alex, I am really secretly very good at Lego. I wish that were the case, but I am not very good at Lego. I'm not good at following those Lego instructions. What I'm secretly very good at is baking. I'm very good at making cakes and making cookies. It's something I like doing. I really like apple crumble, for example. Apple crumble, one of my favorite things to bake. But thank you so much for getting involved and voting and doing all these poll questions. It makes me very happy to see that you are listening to me and getting on with this. So, now, to finish things off, I'm going to do a reading of The Breakfast Club Adventures, The Beast Beyond the Fence. And then we are going to do do some of your lovely questions. So let's do that. Let's go. Hey, Marcus, Owen and Patrick said together as he arrived. Marcus grinned at his friends. Patrick was big, but he was faster than almost anyone else his age. His thin glasses were kept together by a piece of tape because he had broken them at football practice last week. Owen was short and had a small afro, and her feet were magic. Hey guys, said Marcus, taking a seat on the bench opposite them. What's on the menu today? Patrick asked. Toast and Weetabix, Marcus replied, grinning. Only the best fuel for me. He gave a quick thumbs up. Yeah, on Weetabix days, you're a footballing machine during lunch break. Almost as good as me, Owen said, punching him lightly on the arm. Marcus's smile slipped slightly. He felt bad, but he was going to have to make up another excuse to get out of playing with Owen and Patrick at lunch today. He just hadn't been able to play properly since he lost his ball. Every time he closed his eyes, he could see it happening. He could see it happen. He could see his left foot slipping as his right foot swung towards the football. He could see his toe smashing into the football at the worst angle possible. He could see the ball whizzing up, way over the two packbacks that made up the goal, way over the head of the goalkeeper, and way over the school fence. And then it was gone, lost by the building next to his school. It happened more than a month ago, but he could still see it all in his head. Hey, Wayne poked at Marcus's head gently. Is anyone home? Marcus blinked hard. What were we talking about again? You were remembering kicking the ball over the fence, Patrick said gently. Marcus sighed. How did you know? Marcus, whenever you go quiet these days, you're thinking about that ball, Wayne said. Patrick nodded, taking off his glasses and giving them a good clean before placing them back on his face. I just know I can get it back, Marcus muttered. We walked along the whole fence, Marcus, looking through to see if we could see it, Wayne said kindly. It just wasn't there. But maybe I wasn't looking hard enough, Marcus said. Maybe I should have gone over. Marcus, you know the rules, Wayne said, lowering her voice. We don't go over the fence if we can't see the ball. It's too risky. Yeah, you heard Mrs. Miller, right? Said Patrick. Marcus nodded, thinking about that terrifying school head teacher. She's coming down hard on people. It's like getting a red card, but in your school life. Patrick leaned back in his chair. I heard that some kids from Mass Club got detention for a month for going over that fence. What's so special about the football anyway? Wayne asked. Marcus opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, a deep voice came from behind them. Ah, here we have our table of young footballers. Marcus turned to see Mr. Anderson, one of his favorite school teachers, smiling at them, his blue eyes crinkling at the corners. Mr. Anderson was tall and had a short grey hair, and every day without fail he wore a tweed jacket with patches sewn on the elbows. He taught music, but often ran the breakfast club too. Not just that, we also have a trumpet player, Patrick said, referring to himself. And a maths person. I'm good at maths, Wayne pointed at her chest. Well, I'll be sure to keep that in mind, Mr. Anderson said. And I hope you lot have done your homework. He raised an eyebrow. Yes, of course we have, Mr. Anderson, said Owen quickly. Ah, Owen, that's what you always say, Mr. Anderson sighed. He pretended to roll his eyes, winked at them, and then walked off. Young footballers, Marcus muttered glumly. Not me so much anymore. Not when I'm still on the bench. Just saying that phrase felt difficult, like he was bringing up something from the back of his throat. I have plenty of time for homework. Yeah, but everyone knows you're good enough to be a starter. You just... Patrick paused. A little off right now. He pushed his glasses back up his nose. Marcus looked down at the table. Marcus, Owen began tentatively, why don't you just let us help? Thanks for offering, Marcus interrupted before she could finish. He forced a smile onto his face. I do appreciate it. I really do. But I already have someone who could help me get my touch back. I just need to wait for her to come back. Patrick and Owen sighed. Marcus felt awkward under their gaze. I'm going to the bathroom, he said, standing up. He knew they meant well, but they just didn't understand that he didn't need their help. He just had to do what he always did when he was having a rough patch. He had to get the help of his cousin, Lola. He walked out of the canteen and headed down the corridor. Everything at Rutherford Secondary School was old, from the way the doors locked to the windows that rattled when the wind blew violently. Even the forest that stretched out behind the school was ancient. but it was all really well maintained. Marcus liked feeling like a time traveler here. Even though this was his first year, it felt like it was his school. Marcus slipped his hands into his pockets, blinking in surprise as his right hand brushed up against something. It felt like a piece of paper. He came to a stop in the corridor and pulled it out, staring at it in confusion. Written in well-practiced handwriting were the words, "Do you want to join the BCI?" If it wasn't for the marks the pen had pressed into the page, Marcus would have thought that the words had come out of a printer. The BCI, Marcus frowned. He had no idea what it stood for. He peered down the corridor, searching for the person who had slipped him the note, but the hallway was empty. There were 2 square boxes written onto the page. Yes was written above the one on the left, and no was written above the one on the right. Thank you all for listening so amazingly well to that little extract of the Breakfast Club Adventures, The Beast Beyond the Fence. Here, let me show you it again. And I'm glad you all did that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some questions before I slip away. Let's see what I have here. I'm going to pick number 1. What is your favorite character in the Breakfast Club Adventures and why? What is my favorite character in the Breakfast Club Adventures and why? I really like Stacy, who's in the Breakfast Club Adventures. Stacy is the leader of the Breakfast Club Adventures and somebody who's really fond of and excited by all sorts of weird monsters, aliens, and whatnot. And it's really fun to write her because she's just so excited about things, which just makes it really fun to write. Let's go. Question number 2. What's your favorite character that you've made up? This is from Cillian at Westwood Farm Junior School. So, what's your favorite character that you've made up? I really love the character of Pixel from the Marv books that I've written. Here's Marvin the Mega Robot. And here, if you can just about see, is a very small and anxious-looking robot. It's been really fun to write the character of Pixel because especially how the character has evolved over the course of the books. Because originally when I was writing the character, I thought that she should be kind of like a robot and kind of speak like a robot. But the more I spent time writing the character, the more I realized that I think the character should be someone who's kind of small and who's kind of a person who loves Marv and is quite cute in a way and cutesy. And yeah, that made me change the way I was writing it and writing the character, and also just have a lot of fun writing the character as well. And I get to just have loads of jokes. I get to write loads of jokes from coming out of her mouth and in her dialogue. So that's always fun. Cool. So we have this question from Withenshaw. The Willows Primary School, Withenshaw, Class 4. How do you feel when you get published? Nervous or excited? So when I get published, I end up feeling quite a lot of different things. I think I feel really excited when I first hear that the book is going to come out and it's going to be a thing. There's nothing more exciting than hearing that, my book, the thing that I've been working on for so long, is actually going to come out and actually going to be a thing. That's so exciting. And then you have little bits of excitement that go on as you keep on working on things. So for example, I remember a really exciting thing was when they first showed me, because my books are illustrated, so that means they have drawings by illustrators. Just to say, the illustrator of the Marv books is Paula Bowles, and the illustrator of the Breakfast Club Adventures is Marta Kissy. And when I get to see the drawings, them drawing things, which I had made up in my head, for example, like this little, do you want to join the BCI little piece of paper, I had never imagined what that would look like drawn, and it's so exciting to see it when it's drawn. And then it's really exciting when you get to see the first copies of the books come out. It's also really exciting to go to the bookshop for the first time and pick up one of these books and see them for the first time. That's so exciting. So those are really exciting. And but I do feel nervous sometimes when they actually come out. Then there's a bit of a nervousness because a part of me is like, "Are you all going to like this? Please don't hate the work. Please don't hate me." But yeah, people end up liking the books so far. So I've been pretty lucky in that way. But yeah, thank you, class 4W for that question. Let's go. Okay. Oh, let me actually mix it up before I jump back in. There, yeah. What is my most popular selling book from Crown Meadow First School? The actual most popular book. This almost has a trick question a little bit. The most popular books I've ever worked on are these two. One of them is this book. This book is really popular. Loads of people really like reading it and getting it. But also, like I said, for the Marv series, I worked on a special World Book Day edition of the Marv books called Marv and the Ultimate Superpower. And when I worked on that book, because I was a World Book Day book, it's a book that you could get with a World Book Day token. So many people got to read that book and read that book. And um, because of that, it meant that a lot of people ended up technically buying it and reading it, which was really fun and cool. Da, 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 Abbey Wood from Abbey Wood First School. How do you feel once you finish a book? When I finish a book, I end up feeling quite I end up feeling quite excited, quite happy. It's quite a release to finish something and to know that I'm done with this. I don't have to touch this anymore. I can pretend this book doesn't exist for a while because it takes quite a long time to finish a book. So I might be working on a book for months and months and months, just trying to tweak it to make it as best as it possibly can be. And so when I get to finally finish and put the book down, there's always a big bit of relief. I get to be like, I don't have to look at this book for a while, which is always fun. From Rebecca. Are you writing any books at the moment, or are you planning any more in the future? So I am working on another one of these Marv books is coming out in May, and that is Marv and the Duck of Doom, which is quite fun. I have giant ducks in there, lots of doom in there. It's great. It's amazing, fun book. And I'm also working on this other book, which is top secret. Um, but I will say and this isn't the name of the actual book, but this is the name I gave it. The nickname I gave it was called Weakest. That's all you can know. Give you a little bit of a teaser. And then let's read this question next from the Willows Primary School, class 4W. Did you get to meet Marcus Rashford when you were writing the Breakfast Club Adventures? So yes, I did end up meeting Marcus Rashford when working on the Breakfast Club Adventures. It's a fun little story. I actually met him at his old primary school in Manchester. So I had to, as you know, I live in London. I don't live in Manchester, so I had to travel all the way up to Manchester. I went to his school, where I did get to meet him for a brief period of time. And we've shot some little videos that we were going to send out to show that we were working on the book together. And the really cool thing about it is he's a really nice person, really cool to talk to. He seemed very tired, as you probably would be if your whole job was doing exercise, like running around and playing football. I think you'd be quite tired all the time. I know, I think I would be. But yeah, it was really nice to meet him and really good to work on the series. Let's see. This is from Kingsbury, Kingsbury Green Academy in year 8. How did you meet Marcus, and can I have his number? I answered the little first bit of that. How did you meet Marcus, and how did I meet out Marcus? But can you have his number? Listen, it's I admire the fact that you think that I have his number. I, that you think I'm so popular that I would have his number, um, but I don't have his number. If I did have his number, unfortunately, I don't think I could give it to you. But I do appreciate the question, and I appreciate you asking in the first place. Yeah, thanks. Let's see. Ooh, this is from the Willows again. Who inspired me to start writing? So, when I was young and writing books, when I was young and writing books, somebody who people who really inspired me. Let's actually talk about them a little bit. One of them was Michael Mapergo. Michael Mapergo books were books that I read all the time when I was growing up. I used to read books like Kensuke's Kingdom, which is a really cool book. They actually made an animated movie about it. I think it was last year or the year before. So watch that and read the book if you have a chance. But I really loved his books when I was growing up. I was a person who, like I said, I've grown up in London. I've lived in London my whole life, and a lot of the books I was reading, at least from him, were set around the Second World War and set in the countryside and stuff like that. And so that was really very different than my life, which was quite ordinary in response, or it's very different from my life. And so I think that was one of the things that really inspired me. Is I really thought about the idea of when you write books, you get to take people into your world and into the things that you find interesting, which I think is really cool. As well as that, something else who really inspired me, Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl books like The Witches, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, all of those books were things that I read when I was growing up, and these were all things that really inspired me and made me want to become an author. You just you read these books, and then there's so much imagination in them, and there's so much going on that it makes you think to yourself, I wish I could, I wish I could do stuff like this. And right now, like I said, I'm really inspired by other authors. Like I said, Amari and the Night Brothers over here, a book that really, really inspired me. It's just really a really fun book, and it kind of made me want to really see what I could do. And I'll also say, who inspired me? I also say children's TV shows. Really, really loved, like I said, really love Scooby Doo. And I'll add another one onto it for good luck. Really, really, really loved watching anime when I was growing up. So things like Dragon Ball Z, things like One Piece when I was growing up were really heavy inspirations for me, and things that really made me want to become an author and made me want to write books. So yeah, those were things which really inspired me. Another question, which I don't have on paper, but it was in my mind, it stuck in my mind. Somebody asked, I think in the chat, about thesauruses. About, Alex, do you use a thesaurus to come up with words? All the time. If I did not have a thesaurus, I'd use the same words over and over and over and over and over again. I think things like thesauruses and dictionaries are really useful and important when you're coming up with ideas and writing things. And so I definitely, when I realize I'm using the same word, I've used the same word in like 3 paragraphs in a row, like 2 or 3 times every paragraph. I end up thinking to myself, oh, maybe it'd be good if I used a different word. So I use them. Do I write those words down? No. But that is probably something I should do, and probably something I will do going forward, just so that you know. I'm going to read this question, and I have another question I want to answer. This is again from the Willows, class 4. Did you always want to be an author when I was growing up? So, this probably should have been a poll question because there were many things that I thought I could be when I was growing up and I wanted to be when I was growing up. One thing I really wanted to be, which maybe you can tell by me talking about Sammy the Chef so much, is I thought to myself, I might be a chef. I might be a chef. And who knows, maybe every once in a while I'll sit down when I'm cooking something and I'll be like, hey, maybe I should go to chef school. Maybe I should learn how to cook. I think there's loads of creativity in cooking things. And I like eating. So I think that's a fun thing that that was something I wanted to be. I also wanted to be for a while. I was thinking to myself, maybe I should be a doctor. That would be really cool to help people. I think that just helping people is a really cool thing to do in these sorts of jobs. So that was something I was really interested in. That was something I spent loads of time thinking about. But I think at the end of the day, I've always wanted to do something to do with storytelling. So something to do with bringing people into my world. I think a thing that is amazing about storytelling, and if you are a person who was thinking about maybe getting into storytelling of some kind, and you were wondering to yourself, oh, maybe what should I do? Should I get into it? Should I not get into it? A thing I would tell you is storytelling is kind of like magic. So I have never met the books like the Marv books and the Breakfast Club Adventures. These books have sold loads of thousands of books. Thousands of books have been sold all across the UK and all across other countries as well. I met somebody yesterday who had read one of these books in Singapore, so a completely different country across in a completely different continent. And for me, when it comes to being able to have these people know about me, know things that I think are cool, and to share something with me, there's no better and cooler way to communicate with people and to share something with people than through storytelling. And the other amazing thing about storytelling is the ability for you to put yourself in the story. Think about it. You yourself, the one of the coolest things you have is that you, everyone here who's watching this, you are an individual. You are your own person who has your own life experiences, your own likes and dislikes, and you no one else can write a book that you personally can write. That's just not possible. And your ability to put yourself out there and for other people to know you and to see people like you, it's amazing. One of the cool things about Marv, and the thing that made me really want to get involved in writing Marv, is that I did not have that many black superheroes when I was growing up. I think the only one I remember Static Shock, which was a cartoon from ages ago. If you look on YouTube, you can probably see the very poorly quality animation for that show. But I used to love that show, and so one of the things I really thought about is when I was writing this is, this is going to be really cool. I get to have a superhero that looks like me in the story. And as well as this, the final thing I have to say about storytelling, and my final plea to you to convince you to do it, is that when you do tell a story and somebody else experiences it, who knows where that could lead? You have no idea where that could lead. I for sure will tell you, I never planned to be sitting here when I was 15 and I was writing my first story, that I would be sitting here having a conversation with you about trying to convince people to get into writing. I had no idea this would happen. Because of writing, I have gone to literary festivals in Iceland and Dubai. Never expected. You've gone all over the UK. Gone to all these places that I never expected that I would ever go to because of writing. It can take you to places that you would never imagine. I'm just laughing a little bit because as I wrap up that, I have another question that somebody else that is being passed to me off screen. Another question But yeah, writing can take you anywhere. You can become anything. That's the amazing thing about writing, is it's a type of place that yeah can take you anywhere. Somebody, it seems like a question people that is being asked, maybe in this chat, is am I a Messi or a Ronaldo person? I think people think that I have like because I work with Marcus Rashford, I worked with Marcus Rashford on these books, that I have some interest in football or that I care about football. People think because I wrote these books because that I do these things. And if you do think that way, you happen to be right. I do care about football a decent amount and know a decent amount about it. And the question I'm being given is Messi or Ronaldo? Messi or Ronaldo? Let me sip a bit of water to add some suspense as I prepare to answer this question. So, Messi or Ronaldo? I am very much a Messi person, to be frank. To give you an answer, I'm sorry for the Ronaldo people who love Ronaldo out there. Ronaldo's a great player. Messi's also a really great player, but Messi, he likes to. He's more of a passer of the ball, more of a creative person, and I'm a creative person too, right? I like to create things myself. So I think I prefer probably to be Messi, and I'd probably like Messi more than I like Ronaldo. Fortunately or unfortunately, yeah. Sorry, I didn't. Sorry, I don't have a. Yeah, sorry, I don't give you Ronaldo fans a Ronaldo centric question. A Ronaldo centric answer. I'm sorry, I can't give you that. Yes. Let me see if there's any other questions that I maybe can answer before I sign off. Okay, cool. So, thank you all for hanging out with me today. Thank you all for listening to me natter on about random things. And yeah, I really appreciate it. So, the final thing I need from you, the one thing I actually do need from you, though, I really do need you to help me, though, to help me with this. Um, One is that there's a competition. There is the book that represents me competition, which I would love you to get involved with BookTrust, which can help you win a £3,000 school library group of inclusive books, an in-person author visit, lots more prizes. Get involved with this. Also, please do scan the QR code on the top right hand corner of the screen. Maybe teachers here, please do, and just let us know, give us feedback on this event. I know, yeah, we all want to know if you enjoyed this, if you had fun, if you want to, let's do more of this. Please do scan and do that for us. Can you? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. I believe that is me. Again, thank you for being here. Thumbs up, guys.